Welcome to our conversation. My name is Sid Ziegler with Outsports. I have, over the last couple of weeks as a white man in America, been doing a lot of listening. And one of the people that I was listening to last week was Kaitlyn Long. And as Kaitlyn and I were talking, it became obvious that she had a lot to say, and that her bestie and former teammate at the University of Minnesota, who also grew up in Milwaukee, and also lives in Minneapolis now, Justin Rabon, also had a lot to say. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to allow people to hear the life and stories of two Black LGBTQ people who grew up in the Midwest and live in Minneapolis right now. I am going to do as little talking as possible, but I have a bunch of questions for these two. If you have a question, there's a little Q&A button down at the bottom that you can press that and type in a question, and we will get to it if we can toward the end. Hi, you two. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. My first question is, what do you hope comes out of this conversation, and why did you want to do this?
My main reason for wanting to do this is that I feel as if as many personal experiences you can hear about and relate to, especially coming from Black individuals, people who are here doing things, I feel like it makes this that much more real. And I feel like it's very important to share these stories in this time. I know that the stories that I've been hearing from people that are other outside of my friend group have really inspired me to take action to proceed forward and to grow myself in what I can do. So I think that sharing stories like this are what need to be done in order to keep the movement alive, keep the momentum going. And so that's my main thing that I want to accomplish today, is just to pretty much spread my message, spread my voice, and just share the stories that we have as Black individuals here living in Minneapolis currently.
Definitely. And, we don't get this opportunity very often to speak, especially about our experiences being Black in this country. So when we got the opportunity, we were both super excited. We're both so happy to be here and hope we can help by sharing our stories.
So today was George Floyd's funeral service. It's been 15 days since he was murdered and the public response began. What have you seen over the last 15 days in Minneapolis?
Minneapolis has been through a complete whirlwind of emotions. I mean, the first 4 or 5 days, it was just, or kind of first 2 or 3 days, it was an overwhelming amount of just sadness. And you'd go to the store, things did not feel right. There was tension in the air. But then as time progressed on, and once everyone found a plan and an action, community organizers started coming together to create this beautiful movement that we now have today, it was just a complete 180 of emotions. I mean, the protests began, people began to fight. There was so much organization between individuals, all social media forums. It was one of the most beautiful and inspiring things I've possibly ever seen. And to be a part of it personally, I mean, I am beyond moved.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like Justin was saying, the amount of grieving our city is going through right now, it was a tragic loss. It was devastating for our community. But to see people come together and do their part for what they can do to help has been really moving.
Personally, to me, I mean, the first 3 or 4 days, it happened on Tuesday, exactly 2 weeks ago from today. I was broken down. I didn't know how to proceed from that moment forward. I kind of just shut down slowly throughout the entire week, because as a Black man, I'm this happened on a street that is 12 blocks from where I just moved from, only a mile away from my house where I currently live now. And I was just kind of trying to zone it out for a while, but then as time got on, I was like, this isn't something I can just get past. This happened on 38th in Chicago. I lived on 24th in Chicago. This was way too personal, way too close to home. And as I started to see everyone gather momentum, come together, like I had people come over our house that Saturday, and Brad was out here with everyone in our living room, but I was in my room crying. I had to pick up the phone, call my mom because I didn't know what to do. I was at a complete standstill. My mom talked to my dad. My dad gave me a call. I spoke with my parents, and after speaking with them, they reminded me of the person that I am, like what I need to do. And so at that moment, that's when myself and Brad reached out to some friends, figured out what we can do, and we found our place within all of this. And Kaitlyn helped as well. And so finding our place within all this and educating ourselves about what was going on, what we can do, that's what really took it to the next step and became even more realistic to us.
Yeah.
The media images that are lasting for most of America from Minneapolis are buildings burning. But you mentioned what you've seen since then as beautiful. What have you seen that is beautiful?
Just the amount of love and support, and the people that have thankfully reached out to me at least and shown their absolute love and support for me as a person, as a Black man here in Minneapolis right now. I tell this to every person. I'm like, every person that reaches out to me gives me that much more hope to fight, because when this happened, I was like, my life doesn't matter. I feel as if my Black life does not matter and it's not valued by people out there, especially police officers. And I'm like, how can I feel safe in any aspect of my life if this is the case?
Right. I had very similar feelings. Last week, I was devastated. Like I could barely function. I am not really an emotional person at all, but I found myself just like randomly sobbing. Like it was hard. It still is hard, but
it is. But when we take in all the good that we're doing now, it's a way to look forward with like some of the donations and like supply runs we're doing, and
getting
like,
involved.
Getting involved definitely helps. But for example, Kaitlyn came over to my house. Kaitlyn's like the most smiley, giggly person I know. And the week that happened, that Thursday, Kaitlyn came over and she did not smile once. She just sat there on the couch. And Brad was like, I don't think she's okay. And Brad sent her a text after she left, and she was like, I'm sorry, like I'm just really not in a good headspace. And so seeing literally my best friend like that was just not, it was so hard to like kind of just see and deal with. And I mean, but reminding myself and like educating myself on what we can do, how we can come together to get beyond this is really what helped me out, especially my parents, when they really told me and reminded me of the strong person that I am, be the best person I can be. That's the moment in which it really just changed for me. I was like, that's when I take a stand. This is what I can do. Let me use my voice to spread awareness, spread the organization, and help out the community.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I was in such a low place, and when Justin started getting involved in, doing the donations, and I saw how he was getting involved and how he started feeling better. Because last week we were both just like, we were just so sad. Like and I'm so lucky to have the friends I do, because not only Justin, but I had a lot of friends checking in on me and, saying like, I know you're not okay right now, like, but how can I support you? Like, I just want to know let you know that I'm thinking of you. And that meant so much too. But yeah, like Justin said, when like we started like helping the community, it got a lot better. It's like we can make good out of the situation. We can make a change. So.
Justin, you talked about not feeling valued as a Black person, and in particularly not feeling valued by the police. Can you tell me about that, and tell me about any interactions you've had with the police personally?
Well, it's interesting. So both my parents work for the Department of Corrections in Wisconsin. So I've seen them in uniform. They don't carry guns or anything like that, but I've seen them in uniform. I have seen their friends and everything, but my personal interactions with police I've never had a positive interaction with police. When a police comes into a situation, I feel as if I want them there to de-escalate a situation that is heightened. And every time a police is involved in a situation, nothing seems to be de-escalated in any situation. It seems more heightened, more tense. I don't feel safe. If I am driving and I see a police officer, if Brad's in the car with me, I feel much better with him being there. If I'm in the car with a police officer by myself, that is a moment where I'm like paralyzed with fear. The first time I ever got stopped in the car with Brad with me, I was legitimately shaking. Like, I didn't know what to do. It was after like 2 weeks previously, there was another shooting that happened. This is about 2 or 3 years ago. And it was like, it's that like intense moment of fear that I just can't explain. I really don't know why it is that way, but seeing everything that happens and just like the power that they want to have over like conversations and situations, it is the most terrifying feeling. It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. Like, I have very similar feelings about police officers. I've never felt safe or like you were saying, I remember the first time I got pulled over, I was also like shaking and I was trying not to cry. I was like so scared because it's like, you know, the police are there to protect and serve, but if you're not the right skin color, then it doesn't really apply to you. Like, it's crazy. I have never really, like Justin was saying, I don't really feel like I've had a bad encounter, but I've never had one where I'm like, I've never been comfortable around police officers. My anxiety gets through the roof when I just see one. So, yeah, those are kind of my feelings about it. But.
It's easy for people to point to what happened to George Floyd and say that's obviously patently wrong. And there's a lot of conversation now about how to change the way police interact, and it's mostly focused on the clearly patently wrong things, chokeholds and things like that. But I'm curious if you can point to anything that you feel police have done around you that may be more of kind of a microaggression by the police, that's something that doesn't stand out as, oh, this is patently wrong, but you have noticed it makes you feel particularly uncomfortable.
Like specific interactions with police that we've had that make me feel that way?
Yeah.
I mean, for one, during Pride especially, when I am out and about, there's like police officers at Pride, and I am like just being my most like happy self, going about my time, just like walking down the street with my friends. The police aren't there in like a positive, they're not there in like a very open stance. It's like a very harsh, like very direct kind of manner in which they're like guiding people certain ways. It's just the way in which they speak to you. Whenever a police officer speaks to me, it's the most demeaning way ever. Like, even when it's like, just get your license, it's always like a direct, harsh, like, you do this, I'm making you do this. And it's like, I feel as if my personal, whatever I have to say is not valued like it should be as a human. Like, if I'm doing something that is completely harmless, I feel like I can be approached to and talked to in a very comforting way. It's never once ever been that way. And like, seeing a police officer with their hand on their gun walking over to your car or walking up to you like in Pride, for example, that is absolutely not the type of way in which I want to be like approached.
Justin, you said that your parents are correction officers. What kind of conversations did they have with you growing up about how you should, quote unquote, handle yourself in public around police? And people, we hear this term called the talk that Black parents have with their kids. What did that look like for you?
It was once, my parents for a while did try to shield a lot of the bad from the world from me. But then it got to a certain point, obviously, where I got on social media, I watched the news, I started seeing things, especially throughout like middle school to high school. My mom just like sat me down and she let me know, like, this is how you have to act. Like, she had to have that conversation. You are a Black male in the United States. You have to really, really be careful around this. You have to take the precautions that show that you are non-threatening. You have to, as soon as you are stopped or pulled over by police, put your hands on the wheel. Do not talk back. Make eye contact. Be as direct as you can without being threatening in any way. never reach for anything unless you're asked to do so. And these are conversations I was having when I was 9 or 10 years old. And I'm like, okay, I don't really understand this because I'm not interacting with police, but little did I know these are the conversations that like needed to happen. They happen all around the world to Black children because these are the things that have to be talked about.
Kaitlyn, your parents were white. You were adopted. Kind of tell us about that, and were they able to have the talk with you?
Yeah. So I was adopted from birth. My parents are white. I grew up in a very white suburb of Madison, like 5 minutes outside of Madison, Wisconsin. And growing up, I was usually the only Black person in every room I was in. It was rare that I was around, like, interacting with other Black people, really. And my experience was my parents, kind of like what you were saying, they like try to shield me and like protect me, you know, from some of the things that were going on. I would say there's lessons that every Black kid learns at a young age. So I had a similar experience where, you know, I learned young how to speak to the police, how to interact with the police, or just like, same thing you were saying, keep your hands on the wheel, you know, be respectful, you know, present yourself well, type of thing. And I was probably around the same age, like 8 to 10-ish. And
it's kind of like the same thing that like I was just taught in general to overcompensate for a lot of those microaggressions that people might have.
Right.
The stereotypes that people might have for you, just meeting you without actually speaking to you in any way. Being a Black person, approached by a lot of white people throughout my entire lifetime, until I overpresent myself in a way that shows that I am non-threatening, I'm a positive person, I am intellectual. Until that point, I don't seemingly have the approval from most people that are not Black, especially white people. I don't have that approval until I overpresent myself, and that's something also my parents taught me. My dad's like, sit with your shoulders up, like speak loud and clearly, and everything like that. And so it kind of all just played into overcoming those microaggressions that people might have and those stereotypes that people might have for you before they even get to know you.
mm-hmm.
So we could talk about the talk and treatment from police, but your parents really taught you how to treat around, how to hold yourself around white people, because they viewed white people as potentially problematic.
And I mean, not problematic, but so I grew up in Milwaukee, predominantly Black area. I grew up in the north side of Milwaukee. But I went to school in Shorewood, which was about 5 miles from where I lived, but I commuted there, and that was majority white neighborhood. And so it was a lot different than like where I went to school when I was little, who I was around. And so it was kind of more so my parents just letting me know things will be a little bit different, but that's fine. Like, that doesn't change anything. You're still the strong person we raised you to be. And they taught me all these things from a young age, like, thankfully, to kind of just like present myself in a way. I feel like this is what makes me the person I am. It makes me the person who wanted to get together and organize and supply things for the community. It kind of just all plays together because they really did teach me these things, how to interact, how to operate. When I go into stores, it's like, my mom used to tell me, like, when I go to Mayfair Mall, it's like, you should at least buy one item so they know you're not stealing. Like, and that was a thing. Like, it was not very uncommon that I was told to make sure I at least buy one thing so they know I'm there with a purpose and I'm not just there loitering, wandering around, I'm looking for trouble, essentially.
That's something I was taught as well, shopping. Again, like, just little things like that can seem so complicated when you're Black, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but like
the looks you get.
The looks, you walk in the store and I think people assume that you're there to cause trouble or you're not gonna buy, like, you look around and not buy anything type of thing. People watching you from across the store, making sure that you're not doing anything, you know, like
the amount of times that I've been followed in the store. It's like, I will literally go down the aisle to grab something. I'll look to my right and there's an employee like just so happened to be there. I go somewhere else and another employee so happens to be down looking at me a different way.
Yeah.
It's like, I've noticed that my entire life but it's never bothered me because I'm like, okay, you can watch me all you want to. I'm not stealing in your store.
Right.
But things like that are things that I have just noticed and dealt with for such a long time that a lot of people aren't Black, just don't realize these things happen. And it's unfortunate, but like, it's kind of just the everyday normal to a lot of Black people.
Right. It's like something that we've learned, like these are things we learned at such a young age that like we don't, it's normal. Like that's just the way things are. Obviously we don't want them to be this way, but it's just like, if you walk into a store, expect the looks and the, you know, or like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to me as you talk about it being your normal, and these are things that I've seen in TV shows and movies, but never quite understood that this was actually normal for Black people.
Yeah, I mean, when I was little in a gas station, it was terribly racist, but there was a white owner in the gas station. When I was young, I was like in the middle of north side Milwaukee, and they're like one Black person allowed at a time, and it was point blank that one Black person allowed at a time, and that's what we all knew to be that gas station, and we would have to go in there one at a time because he would assume that we would all just steal. And it's just me and my cousins going to the store. None of us are thieves, and we have money to buy things, and these are regular things that like, should a 7-year-old have to go to the store and listen to an owner say one Black person at a time? No. But what can we do at that age? And like, that person already has their predetermined notion of us. And these are things that I've experienced since being very young.
Justin, you mentioned the neighborhood that you grew up in, Milwaukee, was Black neighborhood, and you said something interesting to me yesterday, that Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in America. Tell me about that.
Milwaukee's very segregated by bridges and like rivers. There are like complete race changes from like the north side to where Sherwood might be to the south side where there might be Latinas and Latinos. There's a specific community in which there are Jewish people. It's just like the city itself, there's a map that gets pulled up. It's like the most segregated city that I've ever seen. It's like suburban white areas or suburban white people around the outside. The inner city has a lot of Black people. South side is Latino, Latina. It's just like, yeah, it's extremely segregated. But I mentioned this, the area in which I went to school, Shorewood, that area was majority white, and that was when I learned a lot of the lessons I did about just like presenting myself, proving myself, and just being able to present myself in the way I would want others to see me before even thinking that I have to do that.
You both said that you went to majority white high schools. Did you face overt racism at those schools from your teachers or your classmates? I mean, did you hear the N-word, Kaitlyn?
I definitely heard the N-word, yes, not uncommon. But overall, my experience, I had a good experience overall. I was just used to being the only Black kid. Like, that's all I knew. When I was young, I lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota until I was like 7. So when I was in my kindergarten and first grade, I was the only Black student at a K through 12 school. And then when I moved to Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, I was usually like, I think we had like 10 to 15 Black kids in a school of like 1,000. So it was just like what I was used to. So, I mean, I guess I noticed it, but not really, because that's just what I knew, you know what I mean? But overall, I didn't really have too many overt like racist comments or anything. But it's not uncommon for us to hear, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh, my first week at going to school at UW, Wisconsin, like the nights going out, there were so many people that were just blatantly racist, like just drunk people, like just calling me the N-word, like for no reason. I actually got into one physical fight before my first week at Wisconsin, because I was walking past someone on the street and they like bumped me on my shoulder, and he called me the N-word, and I'm like, what? I'm like someone, because usually it's never someone that's close in proximity. Usually it's someone that's driving by in their car and they're just terribly racist and they'll just say something to you. And that's just like whatever. This person's at a distance, just like talking crap, and I'm not like, it's whatever. But this is the first time that I had someone straight up to my face say this, and it was not like, and that was not a good situation. And like, thankfully, no one was like hurt or anything like that. But that was just like ridiculous, and at parties and everything, and just people assuming that I got into school for being Black. They're like, oh, you played sports, or you didn't have to have as high of an ACT score because you're Black. And I'm like, no, I probably have just as high of an ACT score as you do. And it was like so many comments like that throughout college that really, it pisses me off so much, because I'm like, I work twice as hard than most people I know. I work my ass off. And there's people that try to disclaim me just for being Black. And it's like, at a certain point, it's like, you do all you can, and then once you get to like a certain point, it's like, oh, this becomes your advantage. You know what? You're in college. You got in here because you're Black. You do a sport, and that helps you out. And it's like, no, absolutely not. I work twice as hard just to be right here.
The amount of times I've heard like, oh, you got into school because you're Black or because you're good at sports. It's like, no, Justin is one of the hardest working people I know. Period. He's a Capricorn. But just in general, Black people do have to work harder to get to the point where they want to get. You really do have to work twice as hard to get half as much sometimes, or most of the time, I guess. And it's just like, it all goes back to systemic racism. Like, it's literally embedded into everything, every aspect of our lives. Like, we could talk about this all day long, like, just about how deep it goes. But it's just, we really do have to work hard. It can be really hard to be Black sometimes. Like, I remember when I was younger, there was, like I said, there wasn't really anyone that looked like me in person. And also there was like on TV or like people in power. I never once had a Black teacher. Like, it's so rare to see Black people have a platform and speak or like hold positions of power or see them in a good light, because that's not what the media usually shows at all. Or
that's really true. When I was growing up, the only way I would see a Black person on TV was on BET, the Black Entertainment Network. Like, there was not a lot of people that like I would see just around everywhere that are Black in like positions of power or in places. Honestly, Barack Obama was like the first, like, so I was like, wow, like, oh my gosh, that was the moment in which I was like, this is like that was like one of the proudest moments ever. But just like, it's hard when you're young to look up and not have, and like, obviously I have my parents who are like amazing role models and figures for me, but to not see that in your everyday life, it is hard. It's hard to like push past that and think beyond that. But then again, that's where I'm happy I have the support system I did with my parents. And the support system I have now with like work and with my friends, with Brad, with Kaitlyn. It's just like, everyone's very supportive and loving now. But I feel like it takes a lot to get to this point to where you can feel this comfortable and feel this powerful about yourself. And coming out, when I came out as gay 4 years ago, that gave me more of a voice to speak than like anything I would say.
mm-hmm.
You hear the power of role models, and you say you didn't have any teachers who were Black, and you didn't have anybody on TV who was Black other than BET, and it sounds like that void really had an impact on you.
It's hard. I mean, yeah, it's when you don't see, like, when you can't picture yourself somewhere, it's really hard. Like,
to see where you're going.
Right. It's like what my path, I feel like I personally just had a lot of conversations with myself to figure out what my path should be and where I want to go and who's the person I want to be. And that was just instilled from my parents letting me know, like, we want you to be this successful. My mom would not let me come home without anything that was less than a B. It's like, we're going to push you to the point where, like, you will never fail. And so my mom was especially, is like, I want you to be in a much better situation than I am. Not that I was in a bad situation by any means, but she's like, I want you 10 times better than I was. And that's always been something that's stuck with me for sure.
Yeah, my parents were the same way. Like, I love my parents to death. Like, they're my world. Like, they gave up so much and sacrificed so much so I could get to this point. I was the first person in my family to get my college degree. And so, but even though they didn't go to college or anything, they were always there to support me. They said, you are going to be better than us. Like, you are going to do better. And they really pushed me. And I don't think I'd be here without like the support system I have today. And I'm like, just to be able to share experiences and everything. And
seriously, I honestly would not be okay this week if my job did not give me the past week off to personally heal. My leadership team in my office actually like wrote a separate email to me, and they're like, Justin, like, we don't understand what's happening right now, like, but you take the time you need off to do whatever you can. And like, I let them know, like, they were all reaching out to me privately. I let them know that like, I need to take this entire week off to truly give back, like, find myself and figure out my place within all this that's going on within the world. And so this past week was honestly very, very crucial. I think of myself as a person that takes charge and takes action, but like never in the way I've done so this past week. And it's given me such a motivation to want to just like fight that much harder and become like a better person than I was. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity, especially from my job, I would say this last week, to do so.
You've told me how supportive your workplace has been, and how welcoming, but you've also mentioned that you're the only Black person at the company.
In my office, yes. I am the only Black person in my office. When I got there, I was the only Black person in my office, and since I've been there, I was the only Black person that's been promoted since I've been there. And I mean, it's tough. The first week, I went home from work and I called my mom like the third day, and I was like, I'm the only Black person there. And my mom was like, you know what? That is corporate America. And that is something I quickly realized. And it was tough because I was like, I feel as if I'm the only Black person that a lot of these people I've worked with in a setting that's this close and personal ever. And so there's like hard conversations you have to have. Like right away, we have a strict like policy about just like shaving and everything. And the first or second week, I got like really bad razor and hair bumps because like I can't shave every single day. I'm a Black person whose hair grows right back into their skin, and like I will get ingrown hairs and bumps like crazy. And me being a 22-year-old at my job, trying to explain to my boss my second week there in an all-white office, I'm like, I can't really shave every day. I would like to cycle every other day. Having those conversations are something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize that happen in a workplace, and that they thankfully like listened to me when I said that, but like that was something that they like had not heard before. It wasn't that common, and I was like, that in and of itself, like that's the support system at work. At least like they do help me a lot, and like it really is so very like appreciated that I can be myself there. I told them like my second week, they're like, you're wearing earrings, and I was like, if I can't be myself at work, I won't perform like myself, and it's a very like high energy, personality based job. And like I told them, I was like, if I can't like wear my earrings and like do what I want, like kind of have like a little bit of freedom to be myself, I would not perform well. And so like these are the things that they've taken into consideration to really help me out as a person. So I'm very, very thankful for like my workplace, the place that I do work.
Yeah. And hiring bias is such a real thing. Like, luckily, my job I work at right now, I work for Wells Fargo in the home mortgage department, and there's a lot of diversity in my office, but this is like the first job I've ever had where there's any diversity really. Like I think every job before, there might have been one job where there was a little more diversity, but most jobs I can think of dating back to when I started working, I was the only Black person. And like also what you were saying about shaving, a lot of workplaces discriminate by saying what hairstyles are professional or unprofessional. And so like my experience, I've, like, the hairstyles that are considered unprofessional are the ones that a lot of Black women, how they wear their hair, like natural. My hair is naturally a big afro. Or braiding hairstyles are very common for Black women. And in a lot of workplaces, like offices, that is not acceptable or not considered professional. I've had an experience where I had my hair in braids and my boss straight up told me that it wasn't like appropriate. And I was like, it's literally like my hair, like crazy.
Well, it's easy for people to identify that using the N word is makes you is racist, but it's these, what you're talking about are these microaggressions, right? These things that seem innocuous to a white person, but to a Black person, it is an affront to your humanity. And I'm curious if you can just kind of talk through and help people understand what some of these other quote unquote microaggressions or unintended, things that they've done with unintended consequences might have looked like in your life.
I don't see color. That is something I've heard
That's so common.
for 24 years, and I'm just like, what do you mean you don't see color? That's erasing my experiences and what I'm saying to you because you're acting like you don't know that I'm Black. I have had that so many times in which I feel as if a lot of I work for like an IT staffing company, and at work in a sales, like when I was pushing towards like a sales focused role, I felt very uncomfortable at times going into these meetings with like older white men who are in management level positions because I'm like, I don't feel respected from instant the first time I meet them, I don't feel respected. And it's just like the small ways in which like their body language just doesn't present themselves at me. It's always the other person. It's very subtle things like that. And like I remember once leaving one of the meetings and I came back and I was like, yeah, I just didn't really like feel respected as like a Black person. They're like, well, like it's not like most people don't see color. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're telling me that they don't see my color, and you're telling me that like just because you feel as if like Black is white, is brown, is tan, like no, like do not erase my experience as a Black person because you want to feel as if like you want to just like simmer that down. You want that conversation to stop there. You want it to be, oh, it's fine, like calm that down. No, it's not fine. Don't calm that down. I'm letting you know this experience. And these are the things that a lot of people need to hear. It's like, don't erase a Black voice or try to calm someone down in that instance. It's like, listen.
Like this is literally our lives. Like this is what we have to go through on a daily basis. So, sorry.
No, you're fine.
But like, if a Black person, I want people to hear this. If a Black person is telling you their experience, like listen. Like we don't tell us we're being dramatic. Don't tell us to like calm down or anything. Like these are our experiences, and like if we want to make any changes, any real change, people need to understand that right now things are not equal. Like we just like like these little things. I don't think a lot of people understand like the microaggressions and everything. It's little things like that are part of a bigger system and like a bigger problem. And in order for people to like, for things to start to change, people have to realize like, no, like not seeing color isn't the goal. We want people to see and understand our struggles so we can grow from it. And so we can like start to make changes.
There's lots of times where I'm, again at work, another work setting, but on a call with a manager or so, and they're looking for a specific candidate, but they say, I want a John, I want a Taylor, I want a Shelly, I don't want like anyone besides that. And it's always like a, do you get what I mean type of thing. And I'm like, I sit there and I'm just like, are you kidding me? There are so many, like you cannot judge someone based off their name, and that kills me. Like growing up, hearing so many people make fun of like just names that like aren't something that they're particularly familiar with, they judge that in a way way that is so hurtful, because it's like, I know so many people with like names that someone would not consider like what they call a like professional name. My mother's name is Neate, and the amount of times I hear people that are like, "Oh, that's so interesting. Like, where's that from?" I'm just like, why? Like, yeah.
I can imagine it gets exhausting, and it undermines your confidence, and it must undermine your ability to show up in your relationship and at work. I can't imagine the burden that you feel hearing this on a daily basis. You must feel beaten down by the time you get home at night.
At times, yes. I mean, it is hard to sometimes, like, I do come home and I'm very just like exhausted from a lot of things that go on. And thankfully, Brad, he has taken the past like 4 or 5 years of our relationship and really learned. And I feel like it really takes those special people in your life that you know. It shouldn't have to take the people you know to really sympathize with and feel with these situations. But there were so many times where Brad has just been like, I have no clue that this happens. And like, I'm so sorry that this has been your life for so long. And it's a lot of things like that I'm like, we wear a lot. Like, our skin wears heavy, and like, as positive and like upbeat as we try to seem all the time, it's like, it's not as easy like as it looks. Like, it takes a lot of confidence to truly stay positive and stay like in a good headspace, especially when you're Black and when you hear all these microaggressions all day long.
And like unlearning the things we learned from a young age.
Oh my God.
Like overcoming that every single day. From a very young age, I was, taught that your skin is too dark, your hair isn't right, you don't talk right. Like the white being the standard, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, I'll never be that. So you really have to practice like self-love. You have to have a good support system. And like, it's just like something that you never really stops. Like, you have to keep working toward it every single day and like overcoming it.
Justin, you brought Brad, your boyfriend, who is white. I'm curious what kind of complications you've encountered, either just within the relationship or outside the relationship, of being in a biracial relationship.
Well, for one, a lot of people think that me dating a white person invalidates my Blackness. And that hits me so hard to my core when people tell me that dating someone that's white invalidates who I am and invalidates me being Black, because I'm sorry that Brad was the one person that was there for me when I was still in the closet for 2 years. I'm sorry that person I fell in love with. How does that invalidate who I am as a person? And I've been told that by so many people, even a white person once. There was something happened online, and they were like, well, they're like, Black people only, please comment. And I said something, and they were like, well, yours isn't that, you're dating a white guy. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? No, that does not invalidate anything. Am I assimilating to what Brad is doing? No, I'm teaching Brad everything about my life that he had no clue about, coming from northeastern Wisconsin, full of a town where there may be one Black person in a town of thousands of people. I'm like, that makes me so angry, because I've been called out on like my Blackness not being. I have more white friends than Black friends, and I'm like, I have lots of friends of all different races, but I'm like, do not invalidate me and my experiences and who I am because of the people around me. I'm like, lots of my closest friends are also Black, but a lot of them are also white. But because I am the way I am, I feel like a lot of people, there's still those things like Kaitlyn said when we learn young, like, oh, you speak very proper. Like, oh wow, when people meet you and they're letting you know, like, oh, you talk very proper. Or when I was young, a lot of people would always tease me and be like, you talk white. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, why is that the standard? And those are the things we have to unteach ourselves as we grew up. We have to learn to love everything about ourselves, because we were taught that this wasn't right. This wasn't normal. And it's a lot, but I mean, it's been great, like, dating a white person, because I feel as if I am opening him up to a lot of experiences, his family to a lot of things, because his parents have like texted me and had conversations with me that they probably never thought they would ever have had to have with anyone, because it's never been so personal and so close to them, these situations. And it really does take that person to be that close to you in your life to feel that way. It shouldn't, but I'm really happy now. I notice in the world that there are people who have no affiliation or like close proximity to another like Black person, but they're realizing their white privilege. They're realizing that they haven't necessarily had someone close to them, but for some reason, this revolution, this moment which we're in right now, is hitting home for them. And that's what I love. That's what I absolutely love to see, is that everyone is really coming together right now.
I think that's like the most special part of all this. Like, I feel like so many people's eyes have opened up during the last couple of weeks. I've had people reach out to me that I'm not necessarily that close with or haven't talked to me in a while, and they're like, you know what, I had no idea, that this was like a reality. I've had so many messages like that the last couple of weeks.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry that I was oblivious to all of this. And that's such a privilege to be oblivious to everything that's going on.
Just be learning about it now instead of,
It's like, it took, it's upsetting that it took this long for people to realize a lot of the struggles that Black people are facing. But it's nice to know that there's a lot of such great change happening right now. And I feel like I'm trying to envision beyond this next month or so, and see what I'm hoping this momentum carries on. People listen to Black voices a lot more, so you're absolutely hearing what they're saying. You're hearing the struggles of pain, and we can slowly begin to fix and call out our peers in those moments. So like, I want the white peers around me to call out these things that really aren't fair or equal to people that are not white, like any person of color. I want them to speak out for that. And I feel like that's something that will be happening moving forward. And I feel like it takes everyone to build that courage and that strength to do so, because those conversations are hard, but like, they have to happen. They absolutely have to happen.
And I think just like a willingness to want to learn and want to try to understand. Like, if you're not Black, you're never gonna fully understand our experience. But just listening, just that little thing of just like listening and being willing to hear what a Black person has to say, I think that means a lot, and it can spark a lot of change if you're just willing to listen and make changes going forward.
Just educate yourself.
Educate yourself, yeah.
That was like the key for me to my self-healing this past 2 weeks, has been just educating myself, learning what does defund the police mean. Like, because I remember when I first heard that, I was like, this sounds crazy. But now I'm like, you know what? I'm like, investing in, right? I'm like, defund the police, like, invest this into areas in which like that need it, like invest in safe like areas of the community, invest like into schools, things like that. I'm like, these things are so beautiful to see, and like, I personally want to make it my mission and my goal to like help out wherever I can in that, because I feel as if I've been blessed with like a platform and a voice in which I can like speak to people well. I want to be able to use that. I want to really just help make the change that is going on in the world now.
Yeah. It's like so cool that it kind of started here in Minneapolis, like
Right.
Obviously it's so unfortunate how it had to start. Like, another innocent Black man had to lose his life to police brutality, but I think we can really take this momentum, the Black Lives Matters, and continue to invest in it and educate. And I think we can make some real changes. And like Justin was saying, I'm picturing, like, I feel hopeful. Like, I feel like I could picture a better future based on this movement. And it might not be easy. There's a lot that needs to change. It's like, where do we even start? But it's just like little things, like the community coming together and just like
having those conversations. Every single person you can educate and speak to, like, have that hard conversation with, they're that much more bought in on everything that needs to happen to make people feel comfortable, make people feel wanted and loved in this world. And so I feel like that's the direction we're going. There's going to be, I mean, I'm personally going to have so many conversations with so many people in my life that need to hear this. I want to be able to explain to people, like, you know what, you were blind to this for this long, and that's a problem. But here are all the things that I have experienced. Now, make sure that these do not happen to anyone else, because I don't want people to feel uncomfortable in this world. That's not how people should live. No one should ever feel unloved, unwanted, unvalued. And I feel as if now is a great time to build off that. And I see it at least my circle of people in which I live in. I see, like, on my social medias and everything. That is what I see. I see a lot of people building each other up, supporting Black businesses, things like that are just like, that are so great and that are overlooked for a very, very long time.
The little things.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know, honestly, we have a few more minutes, but that was such a great way to end this. I just feel like you two just kind of wrapped everything up, just kind of a couple of things that we need to do better. You know, I appreciate that Kaitlyn, you feel for the first time a sense of hope about this. That's incredible. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or share? And if not, that was beautiful.
I mean, I just want people to know that, like, it's okay to have those hard conversations. It's okay to reach out. It's actually very much so appreciated to reach out and to seek to understand more information, seek to understand people that aren't like you. That helps a lot, especially in a time like now when things are so heightened. Everyone's emotions are wearing on their sleeves. Everyone has their examples and experiences right there in hand. Seek to understand those, understand why those happen, understand how those happen, and how you can be a change. Find your part within everything. And that was the moment in which my healing started, is that I found my part. I found my place in everything that's going on. And I feel like if everyone finds their place in what is going on in this world and where they can make that difference, that's the moment in which you will feel so much better. Because regardless if you're Black or not, everyone felt like crap this past week. And I know that if you take the time to educate yourself and find out your place, whether it be just like learning and educating yourself so you can speak to something that comes up in the conversation, or actually taking the next step and being a community organizer, reaching into your community, seeing where you can help out, where you can donate, where you can invest your time and care, that is the moment in which you start to personally heal. And I know that is the moment in which I healed and a lot of people around me.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say that we're so thankful to be, like, it makes me so happy being able to talk about this. I want to say to anyone watching, if you have any questions, like, reach out. Reach out to people in your lives that are Black. Like, we need to have these conversations to move things forward. And I really do think we can really do a lot of cool things if we continue this momentum. And like Justin was saying, like, seek out people that might not look like you or might have different experiences than you. And I think you'll realize that we're a lot more similar than, you might think, or like you might learn about someone's experiences that you might have no idea about. And I don't know. I think we're gonna do some cool things going forward. It's gonna be cool.
Well, that's great. I think that's a great way to end. Talk to people, ask the questions that are on your mind, and I appreciate you both so much, as I hope you know. And if there's anything that we can do at Outsports, don't hesitate to ask. And we love you both.
Awesome.
Love you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. This will be on YouTube later tomorrow if you want to share it with anybody else. Thank you.
Thanks.